Danilo and Sofia, a life together. It was a rainy Friday evening in New York City. Danilo, a 24-year-old sports coach and passionate amateur football player, had planned to go to a late movie with a few teammates after practice. When his friends canceled at the last minute, he decided to go alone. Football had always been his escape, but movies were his secret hobby, a way to unwind and get lost in a different world. Sofia, a 22-year-old film student from Boston, was also at the theater that night. She had been doing research for her final project about how people experience movies alone. She noticed Danilo standing in line for popcorn, still wearing his team jacket with a small football logo on the sleeve. When the ticket machine jammed and Sofia couldn't print hers, Danilo stepped forward and helped her with the screen. They started chatting while waiting for the previews. She teased him about coming to the movies alone, and he smiled and said, "Football practice was tough today. I needed a quiet night." During the film, they happened to sit next to each other. At one of the funny scenes, they both laughed at the same time and glanced at one another. Afterward, instead of leaving separately, they walked out together and ended up at a small cafe near the cinema, still talking about the movie. They discovered they had very different lives, but similar hearts. Danilo coached kids' football in the afternoons and played in a local league on weekends. Sofia loved cinematography and dreamed of directing her own film one day. Both were new to the city and missed their families. Over the next weeks, they started meeting regularly. Sometimes Sofia came to watch his Sunday matches, sitting on the sidelines with a thermos of coffee. Other times, Danilo joined her at student screenings, learning about independent films and quietly admiring how passionate she was. Their first real date was a mix of their worlds. They watched a sports documentary at an indie cinema, then went to the park where Danilo taught Sofia how to juggle a football. She wasn't very good, but they laughed so much that other people in the park smiled at them. Their relationship grew slowly and naturally. Danilo loved Sofia's creativity and the way she could see beauty in ordinary things. Sofia loved Danilo's discipline, kindness, and how he encouraged the kids he coached. Even when his schedule was full with practices and matches, he made time for her. 2 years later, Sofia graduated and got her first job on a film crew. Danilo had just taken over as head coach for a junior team. On the anniversary of the night they met, he invited her back to the same cinema. After the credits rolled, he handed her a small envelope with 2 tickets inside. Not for a movie, but for a weekend trip to Boston, where he planned to ask her a very important question. That evening, standing under the neon lights of the theater, Danilo told Sofia how she had changed his life since that rainy night. With a nervous smile, he asked her to marry him. She said yes, laughing and crying at the same time. After that unforgettable proposal, Danilo and Sofia's life became a blend of their passions and shared dreams. They moved in together into a cozy apartment near the river, where Sofia could see the skyline from her studio window while editing her films, and Danilo could store his football gear without cluttering the space. Weekends were a mix of football matches and film marathons. On Saturday mornings, Danilo coached his junior team at the local park, and Sofia often came along, notebook in hand, sketching story ideas inspired by the kids and their determination. By afternoon, they would sit on the bleachers, Sofia cheering while Danilo blew the whistle and gave instructions. In return, Danilo began attending Sofia's student film screenings. He wasn't always sure what she was talking about when she discussed framing or lighting, but he loved seeing her eyes light up as she described her ideas. Sometimes he would even offer practical suggestions, joking about how certain camera angles reminded him of goalposts on the football field. They laughed about it endlessly. Their evenings were their favorite. They cooked meals together, often experimenting with recipes from their childhoods. Danilo taught Sofia how to make borscht, while she introduced him to her favorite pasta dishes. They decorated their apartment with a mix of football memorabilia and Sofia's film posters, creating a space that felt like both of them. Of course, life wasn't without challenges. Danilo faced a serious injury during a league match, which left him sidelined for months. At first, he was frustrated and depressed, but Sofia was there every step of the way, bringing him homemade soup, helping him with rehab exercises, and cheering him on even during the slowest recovery days. Her support made him stronger, and it deepened their bond. Sofia, too, faced setbacks. A major short film she worked on was rejected from a festival, leaving her heartbroken. Danilo stayed up all night listening to her frustrations, reminding her that talent and passion always outlast one rejection. Every great player loses a match sometimes, he told her. But champions keep playing. You're a champion too. A few years later, Danilo and Sofia decided it was time to start a family. They had built a stable, loving home, and both felt ready to share their life with a child. When Sofia became pregnant, they were overjoyed, but also a little nervous about all the changes ahead. Pregnancy brought its own adventures. Danilo was the most attentive partner, attending every doctor's appointment, helping Sofia reach for things on high shelves, and carefully practicing bedtime stories for the little one. Sofia loved seeing him so gentle and involved, a side of him that wasn't always visible on the football field. They decorated a small nursery in pastel colors, mixing soft toys with miniature footballs and film posters. Even the crib had a tiny projector that could display stars on the ceiling. Sofia wanted their child to grow up surrounded by creativity and imagination, just like her. When their daughter, Vika, was born, the joy in the apartment was overwhelming. Danilo couldn't stop holding her, amazed at how something so small could bring such happiness. Sofia laughed at his endless stream of baby selfies and the way he would hum little football chants to her while rocking her to sleep. Parenthood wasn't always easy. Sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, and unpredictable moods tested their patience. But they handled it together, laughing through the chaos. Danilo taught Vika to kick a softball, even before she could walk, while Sofia read her bedtime stories, creating a perfect balance of play and imagination. Over the years, their home became a place full of warmth, laughter, and small traditions. Sunday mornings meant football practice in the backyard with Danilo, while Sofia captured candid moments for her photography projects. Afternoon walks to the nearby park often turned into spontaneous filmmaking adventures, with Vika as the star. As Vika entered her teenage years, the house became even more dynamic. Homework, sports, and social activities filled their days, but Danilo and Sofia remained committed to their bond. Weekend football matches turned into family outings where Vika's friends joined, and Sofia encouraged Vika to create short films about her experiences. The parents cheered her creativity, teaching her the importance of balancing passion with responsibility. Despite the chaos of daily life, Danilo and Sofia still found quiet moments for each other. Late-night talks in the kitchen, coffee at the cafe where they first met, and walks under the city lights. Their love had matured into a steady, resilient connection, one that weathered challenges and celebrated triumphs. They often reflected on how a rainy evening at the cinema had led to a life richer than they could have imagined. Through the years, Danilo, Sofia, and Vika created a home filled with warmth, laughter, and shared dreams. Their story was living proof that love isn't just about the big moments, but about the everyday gestures, the unwavering support, and the joy of building a life together, one day at a time. When Vika left for university, their home suddenly felt far too quiet. The room filled with posters, books, and the cameras she had used for her first short films now stood as a reminder of the childhood that had passed. Sofia often stepped into it in the evenings, adjusting the blanket on the bed, or letting her eyes rest on the photos from football matches Vika had once captured. Danilo tried to fill the emptiness with work, training sessions, matches, but the evenings without Vika's laughter felt unbearably long. One day he said to Sofia, "Do you remember how we dreamed about traveling when we first moved in together? Maybe now it's time." And so they decided, with their daughter starting her own life, it was their turn to rediscover the world together. They began with small weekend trips, Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., wandering hand in hand through cobblestone streets, museums, and little cafes. For the first time in years, they felt like young lovers again, exploring side by side without worrying about school projects or babysitters. As months passed, their trips grew longer. Sofia had always dreamed of visiting European film festivals, and Danilo surprised her with tickets to Venice. In return, she arranged a tour of Barcelona so he could see one of his favorite football clubs play live. Each journey became a blend of their passions, Stadiums and cinemas, sports chants and film screenings, all tied together by laughter and shared discovery. Back home, they also poured new energy into their careers. Danilo began mentoring younger coaches, passing on his experience and values. Sofia finally directed her first independent short film, inspired by the everyday love and resilience she and Danilo had built together. Even with new adventures, their best moments remain the simple ones. Quiet dinners in their kitchen, long walks by the river, late-night talks about the future. Their love had deepened into something unshakable, a partnership built not only on passion, but on years of shared challenges, patience, and trust. And whenever Vika came home for the holidays, the apartment once again filled with laughter, stories, and warmth. Watching their daughter step into adulthood, Danilo and Sofia felt proud, not only of her, but of the life they had created together, one that continued to grow with every passing year.